Duck, the Great Western engine, is proud of his branch line. It runs along the coast and he enjoys working with Oliver, pulling passengers and goods every day. He feels his position deeply and works hard every day to avoid any confusion or delay. "I can see why you talk fondly of your own line," Duck said to Thomas one day. "It's one of the greatest positions an engine could have, having an whole branch line to yourself, with a few friends of course." "It's certainly a great responsibility," agreed Thomas. "Though you better make sure it doesn't get to your smoke box, you never know what silly mistakes you might make." "I don't make silly mistakes," huffed Duck. "I always do what's necessary to be on time." If you say so." Meanwhile, Oliver was puffing down the branch line of his passenger train. But as he went over a set of points, he felt a sudden bump. "Oh my!" cried Oliver, and he came to a complete stop. The passengers were also surprised, but thankfully none were hurt. Oliver's crew inspected the track. "These points look very faulty," commented the driver. "You could have very easily come off the rails if you were going faster." "Oh, Duck would not like that at all," sighed Oliver. "I think we'll be alright as long as we move over these points slowly," replied his fireman. "At least until they can be fixed. We should also inform Duck about it." Oliver agreed, and they continued on. They met Duck at the middle station, and he didn't look happy. "You're running behind, Oliver," Duck said. "You know how important being on time is." "I couldn't help it," protested Oliver. "There are some faulty points up the line, and we had to stop." "You could have still tried to make up for lost time. We have a great responsibility on this line." "I know that," interrupted Oliver, "but that's no excuse to be reckless." Duck scowled and snorted out of the station. He soon came across the points Oliver was referring to. "I don't know what Oliver's talking about," he thought. "They seem alright to me." Duck arrived at the top station safely, and once his coaches were empty, he parked them into a siding. His next job was to take a train of vans to the harbour. He was soon ready to leave, and he waited for the guard to get into his brake van. But he was nowhere to be seen. "Oh, come on!" groaned Duck. "We're going to be late!" At last the guard arrived with a flask in his hand. "Sorry," he panted, "but I'm not going anywhere without my tea." Whew. He climbed into his van and blew his whistle. Duck steamed out of the yard as fast as he could. "Steady, Duck," called his driver, but Duck wasn't listening. Must be on time, he puffed. Then, it happened. "Ah, not my tea!" Duck wasn't badly hurt, and neither was his crew, but all were very shaken up. "I don't believe it!" shouted a voice. Duck's driver looked back, and there was the guard, an empty flask in his hand, and a jacket stained with tea. A whole flask of tea. Gone, just like that. "I know I made you late, but this is just ridiculous." Duck felt very ashamed. Soon, Oliver arrived with the crane and the Fat Controller. "I know you mean well in everything you do, Duck," he said, "and I know you're not to blame for the faulty points. But I'd prefer if my engines didn't throw safety off the line." "Yes, sir. Sorry, sir," replied Duck sadly. That evening, Duck spoke to Oliver. "I'm sorry about my behaviour, Oliver. I certainly wasn't acting the Great Western way, was I?" "Oh, that's alright," smiled Oliver. "Even the best of us can mess up sometimes." He then smirked. "Although, I'm not sure that guard will be forgiving you anytime soon." Both engines chuckled and dozed in the evening sun.